Ahoy, shipmates! It's again another beautiful morning in the Port of Southampton. Sky is blue, visibility is good, and the sun is out, and there's not a lot of wind. And here we have the CMA CGM Vasco De Gama. The CMA CGM Vasco De Gama is a container ship registered in London, no less. Built in July 2015, she weighs in at 178,000 tons. Length is 399.2 metres. Beam is 54 metres. The draft is 16 metres. And she is powered by a single-man B&W diesel with a rating of 64,000 kilowatts. Propulsion is by a single-shaft solid screw propeller. Speed is 22.9 knots or 42.4 kilometers an hour for you continental types, and 26.4 miles per hour. Capacity is 17,859 TEUs. That's 20-foot equivalent units. Now, even though this is an impressively large ship, she doesn't even make it into the top 20 largest ships in the world. Very disappointing. Lengthwise, she is right up there with the largest ships, but the biggest difference is the number of the TEUs, the number of containers carried. At 17,000, she's over 1,000 short of the biggest containers to get onto the list, and the bigger ships have somewhere in the region of 23,700 TEUs. And let's hope it's loaded up with PPE gear for the UK. Vasco De Gama was a Portuguese explorer. The CMA CGM Vasco De Gama is an explorer class ship, and they are all named after explorers. Certainly is a fine looking chap, isn't he? Vasco De Gama was the first European to reach India by sea. His initial voyage to India in 1497 to 1499 was the first link to Europe and Asia by ocean, connecting Atlantic and Indian Oceans, and therefore the West and the Orient. De Gama's discovery of the sea route to India was significant and opened the way for an age of global imperialization, and for the Portuguese to establish a long-lasting colonial empire in Asia. Travelling the ocean route allowed the Portuguese to avoid sailing across the highly disputed Mediterranean and traversing the dangerous Arabian Peninsula. The sum of the distance covered in the outward and return voyages made this expedition the longest ocean voyage ever made until then, far longer than a full voyage around the world by the way of the equator. After decades of sailors trying to reach the Indies, with thousands of lives and dozens of vessels lost in shipwrecks and attacks, De Gama landed in Calicut on 20th of May 1498. unopposed access to the Indian spice routes boosted the economy of the Portuguese Empire, which was previously based along the northern and coastal West Africa. The main spices at first obtained from Southeast Asia were pepper and cinnamon, but soon included other products, all new to Europe. Portugal maintained a commercial monopoly on these commodities for several decades. It was not until a century later that the other European powers, namely the Dutch Republic and England, followed by France and Denmark, were able to challenge Portugal's monopoly on the naval supremacy in the Cape route. De Gama led two of the Portuguese India armadas, the first and the fourth. The latter was the largest and departed for India 4 years after his return from the first one. For his contributions in 1524, De Gama was appointed Governor of India, which with the title of Viceroy, and was ennobled as Count of Vidigueira in 1519. Vasco de Gama remains a leading figure in the history of exploration. Numerous homages have been made worldwide to celebrate his explorations and accomplishments. The Portuguese national epic poem, Os Laçadeus, was written in his honour by Camões in 1518. His first trip to India is widely considered a milestone in world history, as it has marked the beginning of the sea-based phase of global multiculturalism. In March 2016, thousands of artifacts and nautical remains were recovered from the wreck of the ship Esmeralda, one of De Gama's armada, found off the coast of Oman. It certainly sounds like an interesting chap. As you can see, the Port of Southampton is still busy with cruise ships parked up. In the background we have the Ventura and the Marella celebration. And later on today we should be seeing the arrival of the Allure of the Seas, returning back to the Port of Southampton. Flanked by 3 tugs, one at the stern, one at the bow, and one on her port side, manoeuvring will be an issue for such a large vessel, although the weather conditions today will probably assist. The container terminal is actually operated by DP World Southampton, and the container port has 210 acres of land, not counting the 375 acres in the Old and Western docks available for port operations. Loading and unloading operations can be performed simultaneously on 4 large deep-sea container ships plus 1 smaller ship of 500 feet. This container terminal is Britain's second largest deep water terminal after Felixstowe. The railway line from Southampton has been upgraded to the relatively large W10 loading gauge on the route between the container port and the ABP terminal in Birmingham, where it links with lines that have already received this treatment. This allows the railway line to handle the taller containers now in widespread use. Permission was obtained from the Maritime Management Organisation to extend the container terminal into berths 201 and 202. The quay was rebuilt to accommodate 400-metre vessels, such as this lovely CMA CGM Vasco De Gama that we see before us. The depth of the water in the main channel was increased by dredging to 63 feet or 16 metres. This enabled the berths to accommodate the largest container vessels in service. On the 20th of September 2013, it was announced that the Channel Island lines would continue the lift-on, lift-off container service between Southampton and Jersey, and would purchase the MV Hoyland Dispatch from Associated British Ports, who in turn had purchased it from the receiver of Hoyland Rudolph bankruptcy. During this lockdown crisis, their container ships have been regularly visiting the port, along with the ro-ro vessels, bulk carriers, and obviously the cruise ships have stopped visiting in the same way. But also there's been a significant drop-off in pleasure craft. Typically the waters here in Southampton are often festooned with yachts and powerboats. Small fishing craft and the like. But at the moment it's just the giants of the seas that are left. And if you look at the very top left-hand corner, you will see where the ship is going to dock alongside those gantry cranes. It'll take a while, so I think I will head back to my hammock. Until next time, shipmates.